For this demonstration, I want you to go ahead and use a flat brush, taking that brush and outlining monsters or a monster shape using a technique called wet on wet. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a monster with arms out, maybe some horns, and we're going to just paint with water. Okay, we're not going to worry about any kind of definition. You want it to be the main subject of the composition. So we want to make sure that it's near center and that it's large enough that we can go back and add details. So what I'm going to do is for all 4 of my 3x3 mini paintings, I'm going to go ahead and produce a monster. This one here will have a single horn, so maybe the top 2 are cousins. Then I have a single horned monster here, and maybe I'll put a whole bunch of eyes on this monster, arms out, you know. And so what we're doing is we're going to draw the upper half of the monster. Okay, if we're able to get a little bit of below the waist, great, but again, we really want to emphasize the head to show the emotion. Maybe the arms, you can have them flailing up, you can have them at a side, you can later add spikes or claws. So for here, the top, the 2 upper paintings, we're going to go ahead and use warm colors. And what we're going to do is we're just going to allow that color to sit. I'm going to lay a light wash. I'm going to underpaint. I'm going to let the watercolor do its thing. I'm going to let it go ahead and blend. And I really am enjoying the texture that I'm laying down here. Some of the spots here on the wet on wet, some of the spots I'm noticing it's pooling up, and that's okay. Over here, I'm doing the same thing, but this time I'm going to choose an orange. Again, one of the 3 colors that I would characterize as warm colors, like yellow, orange, red. So I'm going to use orange with the intent of using red. I'm going to use yellow with the intent of using orange to lay some additional color. This allows some space here to add some value. My second 2 mini monsters here, my second 2 mini paintings down below, I'm going to go ahead and use my 3 cool colors. My 3 cool colors, I'm going to have the same mindset. I'm going to go ahead and lay down a light green. And the reason I can say light is that I'm just tickling the paint, laying down the color, and allowing the watercolor to do its thing. So I'm just going to lay it down. And because it's a little inconsistent in my application, I find that later when I come back to the painting, I find that it makes for some interesting hair clumps and some shadowing and some natural texture. And then lastly, I'm going to go with the blue. I'm going to go ahead and put that blue in. I'm not going to use too much. I'm going to let the color move and bleed into the spaces that are already wet. And essentially what I've done, I've created 4 possible monsters to go back and to add some definition, right, some detail, and to enhance the features, to do a little bit of problem solving, right, because if something wasn't laid the way I liked, I'm going to have to go back and figure it out. Like this one, I didn't even do a wet on wet. It looks like it dried for the second hand. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a little bit of water, and maybe I'll have my hand going up for this monster. So then I got to go back and add just a little bit of paint. If you notice, I'm always just tickling the paint. I wash the brush thoroughly, and in the event I make any mistakes or the paint runs a little bit more than I wanted, I can also blot. So I can come in and blot. And blotting, again, allows a little bit of clumping. Whoops. There's a good example of warm colors and cool colors mixing. So, I am excited to say that even while it's wet, I can add just a touch of that orange. Okay, maybe to one side of the creature, adding some value. I can add a little bit of red to one side of the value. This is after I've blotted. Gotten some of the excess water off the creature. Okay, maybe I want really clear red horns. Maybe I want, because these are warm creatures, like this is dominated by yellow, this creature, but I could add still a little bit of red to accent how warm this creature is. Okay, so there's my reds, and down below I may add just a little bit of blue, the tips of the creature, maybe around. And I really like how much water's out here. It's really allowing it to flow around. I did a little bit under the head, and then over here I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to have, while it's incredibly wet, I'm coming in. So what happens next, when this dries, I'll come back and do a few dry brush techniques, and I'll switch my brush to a fan brush, and I may also come in and use a detailed brush. Okay, so I may use my detailed brush to come in and do some either eyes, a little bit of fur. So I may come in, do some eyes, nose, mouth. So there's still work to do done, but I want it to dry. So we used wet on wet, we allowed the color to bleed, and we used warm colors up top, cool colors in the bottom.